my gosh. You've done a great, amazing job with everything you've done for us. Thank you. I definitely try my best. But I think there's definitely areas that I can improve, and it's part of the fun, being able to find ways to improve my craft and get better. And because how boring would it be if I got everything right from the beginning? I feel like, or at least that's to me, that's part of the fun is as having you all here to learn with me and see how I grow and see how I change. I think my progress has been good. I think I've really learned a lot. Doing things live is hard. It really is. It really is. And as someone who's never had streaming experience before this, every day is a learning experience. It was something I was actually thinking about last night between perfection and imperfection in certain areas. Which would you prefer? I found that most times imperfection won out in my head. I'm gonna be a little bit of a weeb. I think I brought this up before. For those who've seen Bleach, do you all remember Cecil Apollo? Is it Apollo or Apollo Grants? He was a scientist and he had a battle with Mayuri. And essentially came down to this conversation about perfection. And Mayuri pointed out that, it was a fool's errand to always, or at least for a scientist or for a researcher, to always be searching or wanting to reach perfection, because when you reach perfection, then there's no more room for growth, creativity, like change or learning. And I really resonated with that, and I think that was it really resonated with my desire to constantly be improving and constantly being better and constantly trying out new things, whether or not I do them well. So I feel like there are a certain group, not a group, but a certain set of people and I don't mean this in a bad way, if that's, as an audience member, if that's something you seek in the media that you consume, then by all means, seek out that media. But a certain subset of people prefer watching things that are perfected, right, polished. To kind of give an example, K-pop versus J-pop. I feel like the K-pop world focuses a lot more on getting things clean cut and perfect, and people make videos that compare how in sync dancers are. But in the J-pop world, it's a lot more about the energy and the feeling and being able to watch idols grow and learn. But I feel like a lot of streamers in any niche, whether you kind of focus on learning or growing, or you focus on showing the best of your abilities, I think a lot of people are including myself too in some ways, are fearful of those who expect perfection. For me at least, it's not to the point where I'm ever paralyzed to do things. It's like once a year I'm like, oh man, I wish I could be a little, I wish I could be better. But where was I going with this? I wish people weren't so bogged down by wanting to be perfect all the time. I think not even just VTubers, but I think streamers in general could, I wish we could feel a lot less unbridled, feel able to try new things and mess things up and get things wrong and maybe do a live stream and have some scuff and not be afraid to do so. But I feel like a lot of people think that because you're a streamer and because you're putting things online for everyone to see, there's a certain expectation for perfection. And I wish it wasn't so. I wish it wasn't so much the case. Obviously, I agree that, you want to try to put out your best content and you want to make a good name for yourself and you want to make a good impression. But to some degree, I think viewers should, I don't want to say viewers should do this, because, viewers are allowed to consume whatever media they want. And if they don't like, a certain channel, they could just move on to another one. But I wish in general it was more forgiving, if that makes sense. But like I said, I think people are allowed to enjoy or not enjoy what they watch, and I think it's more so the streamer mentality then, because I feel like a lot of streamers, including myself, feel like they don't want to try new things for fear of looking like messy or looking imperfect. But I don't know, that's what I enjoy about streaming, is going on this learning journey with you all. And I think I said this previously, I'm not ashamed of any of my previous content. I don't think any of it, at least I personally do. Everyone has their own opinions, of course, but I don't know, I was thinking about it as I was contemplating, my journey going into full time. I don't think I'm ashamed of any of my older content. It may not have been polished, it may not have looked as nice as it does now, but through everyone's patience and through my learning journey and through all the help I've had throughout the year, I feel like I've improved a lot, and it's really exciting. So, and I think, being not perfect is what makes everyone, I feel like, I don't want to say charming is the word, but at least for me, I love seeing, how people change or grow or adapt to things. I don't think controversial is the word that I'm looking for, but Rita love, thank you. I hope this doesn't appear as if I feel bad about my content in any way. I'm not saying this because I feel as if my content doesn't reach a certain level of standard. I think I'm really proud of my content now and how much I've grown. And I don't think my content doesn't meet a standard, if that makes sense. This all goes back to the bleach conversation. Exactly. A perfect world is a pretty boring place. And I think, I don't know where this obsession of perfection in like streamers has come about. Maybe it's because a lot of people tend to put streamers on pedestals. I like how you're being positive about these things. I don't know. I think that's, yeah, I don't know. I guess I always think about how I do feel as if it's almost a blessing. I don't feel sad often or for too long. I do try my best to keep a positive mindset, and I think the time and the energy that I've put into building my resilience from when I was younger has really paid off. Resilience isn't something that you learn how to do and it sticks with you for the rest of your life. It's something you kind of work at and learn how to be better at. I blame the algorithm for the meta for the max viewerships. That's true. A part of it does lend itself to numbers. And I think a lot of people, I will like to preface by saying, it's not bad to talk about numbers to some extent. We're all streamers, we're all content creators. This is something that we do have to think about. How many views you have or subscribers you have, and to say that that's something you don't think about is, I think, almost like toxic positivity, right? Because it's not something you can ignore. It is something that is part of the job, and but it's the idea that you can't let it control you, or you can't let it paralyze you. One thing that's made me really sad is hearing from like friends and coworkers saying like, oh, I feel like I should have reached this number by now, and letting that bog down, how they feel about their content. And obviously to some degree it's like, your streams are only gonna get as many views as the number of people who hear about them. Because your stream can be amazing, it can be wonderful, but if nobody hears about it, nobody knows how to get to your stream, no one's gonna be able to see it. So, there's a level of marketing too that influences how many views, and there is also a luck portion as well, and an algorithm. So, hearing people attribute their view count to the level and quality of their content, it always makes me really sad, because there's so many talented people out there who feel like their content isn't good enough because it doesn't have a lot of eyes. Are you a buck up for sharing your experiences? No, I don't think so. I think we should normalize talking about things like this. Yeah, and I think being able to talk about things like this without feeling bitter or angry, because I think there can definitely be positive, and constructive conversations from things like this, even if it's on a micro level. You know, I don't, I don't think I'm gonna change the world or society's mindset on streamers, but you know, I think if anyone's out there who maybe is an aspiring streamer or you know deals with something similar, I hope this has been an insightful experience that we've talked about. It's not that I don't think I've worried about this stuff. I guess in terms of my content, I appreciate, you know, you all looking after me, but I don't tend to think about or worry about my views. I will have to say as often as I used to. I think back when I first started, it's something that's paralyzed me, I think, within the first like 3 or 6 months. But I think as of late, I've just been trying to enjoy myself. And obviously, I can't just not think about numbers. I definitely do think of ways that I can reach out and have fun with more archangels. But for the most part, I just focus on, you know, improving my craft and giving you all a fun and relaxing time. I try not to worry too much about like the minutia of of numbers. I think when it comes to numbers, I think I tend to think on a more macro scale. Does that make sense? Like I don't worry about, oh, let's get to the next 100. Oh, let's get to the, you know, it's because if I did think about that, then I wouldn't stop checking every day, and I feel like that in itself would paralyze and that would really hinder my creativity. Yeah. So there is only so much you can do in terms of, you know, you can't just focus on your content. Like I said before, you know, marketing is a really important piece of it, but you cannot be gripped by the fear of numbers. It's hard. It really is hard. So, you know, learning to find that balance between, you know, having that toxic positivity mindset. The idea of, do you all know about like the whole manifestation trend? I think it's a TikTok thing where people will just say, you know what, I'm gonna manifest being a billionaire, or I'm gonna manifest being a graduate, but then don't take the steps to make it happen, if that makes sense. So finding a balance between toxic positivity and being paralyzed by numbers and things like that. I think that's the constant struggle of being a content creator. Sorry, you hopped in on such a, you know, philosophical is not the word I'm looking for, but I wish I was more eloquent. I feel like I've repeated so many words for lack of better ones. But let's go ahead and read some super